Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you guys today, where I am joined by two other hosts from other shows on this sports network. They are Jeremy Lapidus, as they are not showing up anymore on the screen. It was working just before this. It seems like my Discord has crashed. Of course. I had it working. All right. It should be good now. They are back on the screen. Here they are. Jeremy Lapidus and TJ McBrady. Both of them do just sports podcast or sports shows on this network, right? Both of them are big hockey fans, though, so they have a lot of talk with us. But before we get into that, I would like to remind you that if you would like to support the show in any way, we have the tips and donations link here on the screen, as I am having all sorts of technical difficulties. There it is. The tips and donations link on the screen if you want to ask any questions, support the show in any way. It's gsmcpodcast.net. But without further ado, we are going to get right into this one, where the Oilers beat the Stars by a score of 3-2 in double overtime last night. I think I'm going to start right off with Jeremy. Any takeaways from this game? What did you see when it came to the Oilers beating the Stars in Game 1?
I was really impressed by the Oilers' defense, and I know that's not usually what they're known for. That's usually their big weakness. You know, you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on the offensive end, but I was really impressed by their defense. They're really, in the last couple games, going back to Game 7 against the Canucks, their shot blocking and their ability to not give up those easy shots against these really good offenses. Obviously, you're going to have the explosive offense on their end, but the defense, their ability to play on the other end really, really impressed me in this first game.
Yeah, I agree. I've been kind of trashing on Darnell Nurse most of this playoffs because, he has that $9.25 million contract. He is being paid more than even Leon Draisaitl is on this Oilers team, and he has looked horrific. But in this game, he did impress me on that other side. Of course, he's still not showing up on the stat sheet, but what he does for that team can't really be portrayed through a stat sheet. What about you, TJ? What did you see on this one?
Well, Jeremy mentioned the defense, and part of what plays into that is the penalty kill has been terrific. And I don't think there has been a better team that has taken more advantage of the special teams opportunities. We know how good their power play is, but 20 straight penalty kills, the streak that they have going for them, and that included, you talk about stepping up in the biggest possible moments, killing off that double minor penalty that McDavid picked up to begin that first overtime period, to kill that off and continue this streak. I mean, we know how good the Oilers have been on the power play, most power play goals in the postseason so far, but underrated a little bit, I think, is the fact that they also have a 92.5 success rate on the penalty kill, and special teams as a whole have been dominant for them.
Yeah, for sure. Their power play, I talk about it every single time, every chance I get. When you have Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Evan Bouchard, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Evander Kane or Zach Hyman out on the ice together, it's magic. You just see so often Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid moving wherever they want to in the zone, and it's just like a well orchestrated orchestra where it's just the harmonies are coming together, and it's really a beautiful thing. One person I do want to, of course, highlight in this game has to be Connor McDavid. Getting the game-winning goal, the big guy stepping up in the playoffs, that's what you want to see. What makes this kind of differently than postseason runs that we've seen from the Oilers in the past, where this is where they've kind of fanned out in recent years? Is there a chance that they can get through this hump?
I think so, personally. They talked about coming out of last year, as much as this is an extremely talented group, they hadn't necessarily had any of these deep postseason runs, and headed into Colorado last year, they talked about the level of preparation that in some ways they almost lost the series before the games even started. And I think that we've seen now this Oilers team to go 7 games against the Canucks last round, coming back down 3-2, and being the team that really had, I thought, the more physical approach and the energy in this game to outlast the Stars in a double overtime matchup. I thought that was incredibly impressive, and I think it goes down to the mental makeup of this team is at a different spot this time around than they were last year.
Yeah, and going off a little bit of what TJ said, I mean, this team, this Oilers team, I think has the highest ceiling out of any team left in the playoffs. They have the best player in the playoffs, and that's really what it comes down to at this. If everything's going as good as it possibly can, the way that they've played in these last couple games, they have the highest ceiling, and there's no reason to see why they can't win a cup this year.
Yeah, and I think the adversity too. You look at McDavid, the best player in the series, like we mentioned already, the penalty he picked up that he was super frustrated with to begin overtime, and then he was robbed on that scoring opportunity towards the end of the period as well, where it was an incredible stick save from Ottinger, sort of waiting out McDavid. It was like a duel. Both of them headed McDavid going to his left and just trying to sort of wait for that crease to open up, but Ottinger just stuck it out. And at that point, it felt like that might have been the opportunity that slipped away from McDavid and this Oilers team. But to bounce back and respond quickly and double overtime, I thought was sort of indicative of the makeup that they have right now.
Yeah, 100%. That was actually my very next point, was that stick save by Jake Onger. It seemed like after that is where a worse team, maybe an Oilers team in the past, where they kind of crumble and then they start to let this game slip away from them. But this, having that ability to just stay with the game and missing that opportunity, missing just a huge goal-scoring opportunity and still being able to win. Winning the game 3-2 is unlike the Oilers, as we've seen all playoffs long. Stuart Skinner has really stepped up these last 2 games for the Oilers. In my opinion, if we keep seeing him play like this, they are going to be going to the Stanley Cup playoffs, or Stanley Cup finals, excuse me. Is there something else that you would like to see from the Oilers, maybe Jeremy or TJ, before we start talking about the Stars?
I mean, they just need to keep playing like this. I mean, right now I think they're playing better than anybody else in the league. And like I said, if they can continue to play like this, I don't think anybody can stop them. It's just a matter of consistency, and we've seen them go through this stretch. They had that 18-game win streak, I believe, from like December to January, where they tied the record. And so they've shown the ability to go on runs like this where the defense and the goaltending can step up. If they can keep this consistency, they're incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but
I think...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think my biggest thing is, like I talked about, we know the special teams is incredible with them. Maybe would prefer to see, and I thought they did a really good job last night playing the 5-on-5, but in that Canucks series, it felt like they were a little reliant, I thought, at times on the power play. Not the only team in the postseason, really, that has had that problem. You can make a similar case for the Rangers as well. So, maybe nitpicking a little bit, but I mean, overall, I think, like Jeremy said, they are playing up to what we know they can, and if they keep this up, the Stanley Cup Finals should be in their future for sure.
100%. But going to the Stars side of things, they dropped the first game against the Colorado Avalanche in the second round. They're doing similarly here, losing the first game to the Oilers. What do the Stars need to do to kind of be more well-rounded, maybe even like not giving away home ice advantage this early? I mean, that's a hard thing to do, not having home ice advantage for the remainder of this Western Conference Final.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned last round the fact that they dropped game 1, and in that game, though, they led just about the entire way through, built up the 3-0 lead, and watched that sort of crumble away. And they led just about the entire series against the Avalanche. So I kind of thought that they got punched in the mouth a little bit in this game, and an Oilers team, again, to respond from a 7-game series and coming out with the level of physicality. I don't know if the Stars were caught off guard, but I ultimately, I think that we obviously know they have the the wits to be able to mount this type of a comeback. They just did it in the last round, at least from being in an 0-1 hole. But outside of Sagan last night, there really wasn't all that much offensive production, and they're going to need to do a better job, because as much as Skinner has been playing well, he hasn't been, nails for the entire postseason. And I think you start to put the pressure on Edmonton's goalkeepers, and then you can potentially try and find a way to kind of find a crack in that armor.
Right, and I'm not too worried about the Stars. I mean, you talk about them going down 0-1 to the Colorado Avalanche. They went down 0-2 against the Vegas Golden Knights, which is arguably an even better team. They dropped both of those games at home. This team is incredibly deep. They can get scoring from anywhere. That's been really their specialty all year round. They obviously have that top line. They're young guys and they're old guys. Sagan really stepped up in that first game. But when Jake Ottinger plays like he does, and I love Jake Ottinger, he's one of my favorite goldtenders in the entire sport to watch. You talked about that save on McDavid. He does one of those every night, it seems like. But their team is just so deep, they just need to get the offense going, and they'll get it from somewhere. But they do have this tendency to start slow, and against a team like the Oilers with such offensive firepower, you cannot continue to start slow.
Yeah. In the last series, what impressed me so much with the Stars was they really shut down McKinnon, Makar, and Mika Rantanen. And after that first game, Makar, has an unbelievable game one in that series, and then he kind of goes quiet through the middle part of that series. Of course, they are without Valeri Nichushkin for most of that, and that kind of derailed their team. You kind of saw a lot of offense go out the window with his exit. For the Dallas Stars, though, I believe that they are very reliant on scoring kind of from the point. Miro Heiskanen has been such a great player on the blue line for them the entire playoffs. He's probably been their best player, in my opinion, in the playoffs. Is he able to kind of hold off the special Edmonton Oilers forwards while he needs to also kind of provide offensively for the Dallas Stars, as we've seen in the past series?
That's where I get a little concerned. I mean, we saw it even on that double overtime goal. I mean, you saw two Stars get caught up in the forecheck in the offensive zone, and then the three Stars that were back on defense get funneled to one side. So Connor McDavid had a whole half of the ice to himself, and it doesn't all go back to Heiskanen, but it's that kind of pressure, the speed that the Oilers have coming out of the defensive zone. It creates a lot of odd man breaks, and the Stars need to be able, because their defensemen are very aggressive offensively. So it's just something that they need to adjust. It's not really like something they can't deal with, but it's something they need to be more mindful of.
Yeah, and just being mindful with that top-end talent, obviously, like we talk about with the Oilers having two of the best players in the world, especially in those types of instances where, we saw, like we mentioned, that McDavid got that opportunity at the end of the first overtime period, and he had the ice all to himself in the beginning of the second overtime period, especially in those key moments where, the Oilers are, it's towards the end of the period, right before a break, they're going to try and load up on their top end guys. And like Jeremy said, you just have to be more aware, more prepared for those types of situations to make sure that you're not overly aggressive on the back end.
Yep. So that'll wrap it up for our first segment here. Oilers beating the Dallas Stars 3-2 for the first game of that series. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the playoffs as a whole, what these guys have seen, because we have other people's point of views now. You're not just listening to my voice on my opinions for it. So we'll be right back after this short break.